Hey YouTube, how's it going? The video I'm going to make today is not meant to be any kind of intelligent scientific argument. No, for today I ask you to sit back and enjoy art for art's sake, although to know that when I wrote this piece I had in mind the recent debates on socialisation that we've been having, called Remember. We played as equals, you and I, all those years ago. I wore my nappy and you were naked, that thing I never questioned which dangled as you ran between your legs. We were friends, and together we toddled happily with all the joy of equals in love. Remember? It was during those games that in secret we slipped upstairs to play doctors and nurses. You pulled off the trousers which your mother liked to say you looked smart in, and I lifted up the skirt which my mother thought was sweet. And you showed me yours and I showed you mine, and we looked with a clinical kind of interest at one another, concluding that we looked different. We got bored and decided to play something else. But there were times when you were not there, and in those times I would read books and watch films. The books were about teddies, in which the teddy was a boy, and the girl teddy looked just like the boy teddy, except she had a pink ribbon in her hair. I learned that boys and girls wear different types of clothes. That was why I had been wearing a skirt and not smart trousers when I showed you mine. I watched films, too, mainly Disney, where I learned that I was like Sleeping Beauty, awaiting under the curse of my wicked stepmother for you to save me. You are gallant and strong, and you ride on a horse. I wear beautiful dresses and cause everyone to mourn when I go to sleep for 100 years. I watch all the Disney films, but the ones I like best are Sleeping Beauty, because I liked the scary bit with the witch, which was much more exciting than any other Disney film, and also The Little Mermaid, because I liked the way she didn't do what her father told her to do because he thought she was too silly to decide. I'm not sure where you went then. When we went to nursery, we were in the same class, and we were friends at first, but the boys all laughed at us, and you acted as though we were miles apart then. When I wanted to play on the fire truck, you no longer shared with me, and you told me what all the other boys told me. Just go and play with the dolls. As I got a bit older, maybe 5 or 6, you and the boys became even more rowdy. The girls, by contrast, were said to be, by the teacher, much more sensible. We played quietly with the dolls and the kitchen sets and the grocery baskets and the checkout, whilst the boys made guns out of pieces of wood and hit each other with them, and we were pleased that the teacher was pleased when we did that. Now we are 7, and I have grown bored of hand-clapping games and braiding hair. I want to have fun. I can hear the shouts of the boys as they kick around a football. Such jubilance! I approach shyly, knowing that somehow I'm asking to break the rules. Thomas is a gentle boy who whispers he'd like me to be able to play, but I have to ask Marcus. But Marcus tells me that girls can't play football. To prove it, he lets me play. But I'm so nervous that I'm actually playing and that they're all watching every move I make that I kick the ball too hard and it flies off the pitch. And then they all know that girls can't play football, and I return humiliated to the girls. And I do my best to make friends, and it's nice to talk to one girl in particular who calls herself a tomboy, because we play much more adventurous games together and say how boring the other girls are. She wishes she could play football too. In classes, girls and boys have to sit next to each other, so I notice that talking to some boys is better than talking to others. Some boys pull my hair and ask me what's wrong with my eye, but some boys are nice. They are nicer than the girls, who don't like me because I don't like agreeing with everything the top girl says. I am lonely. In my loneliness I try to befriend boys. Some are willing to have secret whispered friendships and notes in class, but mainly in the playground they don't want to be seen with me for fear of ridicule. We start making jokes about people sitting in trees, kissing and getting married. It's a humiliating idea to be getting married, because girls are nasty if you're a boy and boys smell if you're a girl. We resolve that the other are undesirable and uninteresting and are pleased to be better than them. I walk into a boys' toilet when, by accident, and a big man shouts, embarrassed. I'm more careful from then on. Something is driving us on. It is this feeling that we have to know if boys are nasty or if girls smell. The other becomes something unknowable, and it is this point that our paths parted. The unknowable became the desirable. The boys seemed so different to us, and they must be different because the adults wouldn't lie to us. We practiced ways to keep and hold a boy's attention, like wearing lipstick or poking him in the ribs or blowing raspberries at him. The boys showed no interest in us though. Not until some time later. They didn't seem like the boys in magazines we read. The boys aimed at 10-year-olds which talk about makeup and boys, which my mum wished I wouldn't read. My dad tells me my mum has let herself go, and I'm not sure what he means, but it hurts me. I tell my mum that he said that, and she says that he's angry. She says this so calmly that I know it's true, and I know what my dad says about wishing he could have had a son is a bad thing to say, but it still hurts me. I am becoming more and more aware of my lazy eye now. I wonder if I'm pretty. I know that other little girls are called pretty by their mums, but my mum is only happy when I do well in school or paint a nice picture. I wonder why other mothers would say that their daughters are pretty. My dad says I need to lose weight, but other women tell him this is nonsense, that girls are different and I will grow into it. Everyone keeps telling me I will soon have breasts for which are for having babies, and this makes me feel embarrassed. I decide I don't want to have breasts, and I wish I was a boy, so I could play football and my dad would be happy I was a son and not a daughter, and I wouldn't have to bother with all this fussy makeover business. But the battle of the sexes is on, now that we are 12. Never have we so intensely teased each other for our differences. Still being sensible, like the teacher says, the girls would tend to have their feeling hurt, while the boys would tease mercilessly when the tears ran and call you a sissy. Boys who cried were unforgivable and were called names like pussy and fatty hole. But these words also started to be used when boys told us other things that they liked about us. So we equated the two. The desire to do with it helping when you touched yourself, to think about one you know, a boy you know, led us to continue trying to let you see that all we were was Sleeping Beauty, that our hearts were full of dreams and visions, that when Prince Charming awoke us, but Prince Charming was not to be found. He was galloping on his white horse into battle with the other Prince Charmings. My best friend grew breasts before all the other girls, and all the boys were infatuated. Suddenly, from being nothing but a smelly girl, boys thought she was special. She dreamed of one boy for over 3 years, asking me to hold her at night so she could pretend I was him. While she pretended, facing away from me, I pretended that I was him, that she really loved and desired me as I desired her. But she said this was dirty, and everyone else at school agreed. And the older we got, the more that I tried to insist that I was not dirty, and that it shouldn't matter about my eye because I was smart, the less people were willing to face teasing from being friends with me. My home life was a socialist dream, but my school life was a fascist torture chamber. People agreed with one another, and I began to wonder if anyone ever thought for themselves. But it was to be years before I had educated myself enough to understand what was happening, and for now my choice was to submit or to volunteer myself as a martyr for free speech. I mistakenly chose the latter. And the social impact of this from all sides hit me with such force that I was crippled under the weight of it and had to go into hospital. This whole story has been both an analogy and a factual autobiography, with the intention of giving those who have never given much thought to what it is like to be female a chance to empathise and understand, both with me and the common experiences of girls during that long 10-year stretch, during which we are ridiculed for being friends with one another. How we became so unrecognisable to each other as the same, though we began the same, as equals, naturally.